Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. You're looking live on 12 Ounce Sports and, of course, the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. Wednesday, February the 28th, 2024. Hope everybody's having a great day, a great week. When it's 7 o'clock Eastern time, that means it's the start of the weekend, the second half of the week, which means it's all downhill from here, which means everybody can take a deep breath and let her slide. You're here with us on 12 Ounce Sports again. We're brought to you, as always, by tickets.12ouncesports.com. We are your ticket broker for all the great games and events. Just check out tickets.12ouncesports.com. And we're your place to go for NHL games, college basketball, you name it, NBA, unless you want to go watch a Pistons game, although they're now tied with the Washington Wizards for the worst record in the NBA after they beat the Bulls last night, surviving that horrible non-call against the Knicks. And don't tell me that was a good call. So Detroit can't catch a break, but hey, I digress. They won. So go to tickets.12ouncesports.com. We are your place to go. We are your ticket broker for all your game needs. We are also sponsored by mybookie.ag. If you want to go for the latest and greatest and enjoy yourself while you're betting. You can bet. You can do casino, or you can do the latest games, hockey, NBA, any of the games. That's mybookie.ag. And of course, we're brought to you on the Captain Lou Extravaganza by JaviCoffee.com. If you are a lover of instant coffee, if you like regular decaf, salted caramel, French vanilla, cinnamon, mint flavor, I invite you to go to Javi Coffee. It's the greatest in instant coffee. You don't have to. It's clean. It's neat. Take a couple of teaspoons, hot or cold. And while you're checking out JaviCoffee.com, go use the promo code Captain Lou for 15% off of your purchase. That is JaviCoffee.com. We got a lot to talk about tonight. The Detroit Red Wings, they're going to top our list here shortly. What a run they're on right now. 6 straight wins, including a huge win last night over the Washington Washington Capitals, rather. We'll talk about that. And what maybe they need to do at the trade deadline, or should they even go to the trade deadline, or should they keep their team intact right now? We'll talk about that. College basketball, Michigan State, are they in trouble? Do you really think that they might be missing the tournament? What happened last weekend against Ohio State? I'm still baffled by that. It's got a lot of my friends and family that are diehard Michigan State fans right now, really scratching their head, trying to figure out if indeed they're going to make the tournament and what the baffling, they're kind of stuck in a quagmire right now. If you're head coach Tom Izzo, are you worried? What is the game plan? I think they're 27 straight years making the college basketball tournament. They're going to make it, in my opinion, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on. We've got the Chicago Bears on the clock, all the latest talk about where Justin Fields is going to end up, who are they going to take with the number 1 pick. And also, we're going to talk a little bit about where maybe some of the quarterbacks need to go. Are they going to find a new home in the NFL, free agency or trade, whatever, with Zach Wilson today getting permission to seek a trade from the New York Jets. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. A lot to go over. Again, welcome here to the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We are live here on 12 Ounce Sports every Wednesday. Next week, we got a programming note for you. We're going to be live down in St. Louis, Missouri at the 2024 ACHA National Hockey Championships, the non-NCAA National Championships, 82 teams, 5 divisions, 3 in the men, 2 in the women. We're going to take our show live there next Wednesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern time from the Centene Ice Center. And just outside of St. Louis. So if you're going to be in the area, you want to see some great hockey, college hockey in the St. Louis area from the 7th through the 17th of March, I highly encourage you, and I invite you to go down to the Centene Ice Center and also Maryville for the ACHA National Championships. We'll be there live. There will be no show, no power play. Next Tuesday, we'll be in transit. But next Wednesday is going to kind of be a combined show of the Extravaganza and the ACHA power play as we get you ready to go for that big national tournament down in St. Louis. All right, let's kick things off here. Let's talk a little Red Wings hockey. Last night, they took on the Washington Capitals, and it was a bloodbath. They honored they honored Ovechkin last night at Little Caesars Arena. And just in his honor, they put up an 8 spot to match his jersey number. 8-3, the victory over Washington. Detroit's 6th win in a row. Right now, they stand in the first wild card position, the 72 points, only a couple of points behind Toronto for the 3rd spot. But I know but Toronto's got a game in hand. But Detroit looking really good right now down in Little Caesars Arena, and it's just magical now in Detroit with the Red Wings doing good, starting to get back in form. I know they're a long ways away from going to the Stanley Cup. And, 15 years ago already, it's been since they were last at the Cup when they lost that thrilling and heartbreaking 7-game series to the Pittsburgh Penguins. But it's been 7 years since they made the playoffs. So they're looking for a playoff run right now, sitting in pretty good position. They've got, like I said, a 6-game winning streak over the weekend, or it started really, the highlight to me was last week coming from behind and beating Colorado. And then over the weekend, just dismantling St. Louis on Saturday afternoon. And then on Sunday, taking on the Chicago Blackhawks in Chicago. Patrick Kane's first game back. You can see the jersey behind me, Chris Chelios. They retired his jersey in Chicago. And, they jumped out to 1-0 lead. Then Chicago went up 2-1. And as what seems to always happen this year, Detroit did not get discouraged in that 3rd period. And they got one great, it was just an amazing goal. Well, the amazing goal was in overtime. The crazy goal was for DeBrincat, getting the feed from Kane and bouncing it off the backside of Peter Mrazek, who played a fantastic game for the Blackhawks, the ex-Detroit Red Wing. So it set up overtime. And man, it was so much fun. And it was absolutely amazing. You couldn't script it any better than what happened in Chicago on Sunday night. You had to have seen it. I hope you've seen the highlight of it. Patrick Kane getting the feed from DeBrincat after Reimer made 2 amazing saves on Patrick Jones in overtime, or Keith Jones rather, in overtime, setting up that long pass to Kane. He got it just over the center line and then went in and just froze Peter Mrazek and went top shelf. And do yourself a favor. Listen to the game call from Ken Daniels and Mickey Redmond on the TV side and Ken Cal on the radio side from the Detroit Red Wings. The Ken Daniels call is epic. It's iconic. It's going to go down as one of the best calls for the Red Wings in a long time. Now, I've listened to a lot of calls when Detroit was in their heyday back in the late 90s, with Ken Cal on the radio side, in calling, one of the iconic ones maybe is when Darren McCarty scored that goal against Philadelphia in 97 to ice the Stanley Cup for the Red Wings. But this call with Ken Daniels on Sunday night against Chicago was absolutely amazing. And then you could see Patrick Kane, getting his lap after the game. The Chicago fans love him. He loves Chicago. There's no doubt when he goes into the Hall of Fame, he's going to wear the Blackhawk sweater. And I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all. But what he's doing for Detroit is he's turned back the clock on his career. So it's obviously going to raise the question after the regular season is over or before it's over. Does Detroit make an effort to extend him? That's going to be the $1 million question right there. Is he going to want to stay in Detroit? Does he see maybe what's going on in Chicago and he might want to think about maybe re-upping in Chicago? Now, I know already there might be a little bit of animosity, but animosity goes away quick when you're on the same team. But after Connor Bedard took that shot, from behind on Kane, and what he said after the game, it was good thing he did. Good thing he had that specialized mask on, or he would have took him out. There's a little fire in Kane. I think he's got something to prove this year. Obviously wants to keep playing, but he's averaging over a point a game since he signed back in November, I believe it was. I think he's got 30 points in 28 games. But what a game he had Sunday night. And it was just such an atmosphere. I don't know if any of you have ever had an opportunity to go to a game at the old Chicago Stadium. Now, I have. I went, oh my gosh, I was just talking about it to someone today, 35 years ago already, back in 1989. And it was magical. from the opening, from the national anthem to the organ. Back then Detroit was okay. They weren't great. Chicago, they were both about the same. Back when 4 teams out of the Norris went to the playoffs, the top 4 out of 5. But going to a Red Wings Chicago Blackhawks game at Chicago Stadium was something back then. I would love to see it back to like that, with both being original 6 teams. But unfortunately, that's not the case with Chicago. Not in the same, not in the same conference as Detroit. So, Chicago's in the West. They're middling right now. They're not doing real well. Detroit, obviously, playing much better. So, getting back to the Red Wings, congratulations on them. They got a game against the Islanders coming up tomorrow. That's going to be huge. But you look at some of the seasons that the players are having. Dylan Larkin having a great season. Look at some of their stats. Larkin right now with 26 goals, 27 assists in 53 games. So he's averaging a point a game. He's looking at 35 to 40 goals. That would be almost a career high. Lucas Raymond, 23 years old. He's got 17 goals, 34 assists. Daniel Sprong with 16 goals. JT Compher with 15 goals. Patrick Kane, like we mentioned, 12 goals, 18 assists in 28 games. David Perron, a leader in the locker room. Andrew Kopp with 10. Robbie Fabry with 15. Joe Valeno, Michael Rasmussen, Wallman, all in double digits. I mean, just look at that. You got Shane Gostisbehere with 9 goals and 29 assists, a defenseman. Detroit's rounding into form. It's really exciting to watch. It's exciting getting the bug back for Detroit Red Wings hockey. It's been so long. It's been, like I said, 7 years since Detroit made the playoffs. They were relevant that year, but I mean, Detroit, we as fans have suffered quite a few years now. Was it worth the 25-year run? For me, it was. Making the playoffs every year. Towards the end, it was costly because Detroit gave away, a lot of picks and got themselves in salary cap purgatory. But for the run they had in the mid to late 90s and then the aughts, I mean, getting 4 Stanley Cups in 12 years and another couple of Stanley Cup appearances, so 6 Stanley Cup appearances in 14 years, I'd take it because Detroit, they were the evil empire for a while, making 2 straight trips to the Stanley Cup Finals, and again 25 straight years. To me, it was worth it. So the bug is back in Motown for the Detroit Red Wings. I had an opportunity to go to the Red Wings game the same weekend that the Lions had their playoff game. Detroit played the Kings. You could just feel it. You could feel the difference. This team is gaining confidence. And, they may not win the Stanley Cup. There are some great teams, obviously, that they have to get through. I honestly think that both conferences are stacked. But in the Eastern Conference, they've got the blue shirts with the Rangers. They've got Florida. They've got Carolina, Boston, Toronto, potentially making a run. Who knows? But I just love what Detroit's doing right now. And, the next question is with the Red Wings, with the trade deadline coming up a week from Friday, do they make a deal? Do they try to make one? And if so, what would they like to go after? Now, I know everybody's saying they probably should go after goaltending, but my next question is, who, as a Detroit Red Wings fan, would you be willing to give up? Are you willing to give up draft capital right now? I would. Unless you can get a good deal. Now, Stevie Y's been making some great deals. He's building this team up. If you look at the Grand Rapids Griffin, Detroit's AHL affiliate, I mean, they're killing it right now. And Sebastian Kosa, their goaltender down there who got drafted a couple of years ago, give him a year. Maybe this time next year he could be in the wing wheel in Detroit. If not, he'll be there more than likely in 25, 26. But he's the future of Detroit right there. And, Lyon's been a fine. Reimer's been a great backup. Really picking up the slack for Husso. Who knows if he's going to be back before the end of the year. I think one piece that might be Berggren. He declined an extension to stay in Detroit. But the problem with that is the other teams know that. So they're going to maybe hold Detroit ransom if that's who they want to get rid of. But trade deadline moves, unless you're really close to making it. And I love Detroit, and I know they're going to make the playoffs. What I mean by making it is getting into the Stanley Cup Finals or the conference finals, kind of like what the Detroit Lions did this year. I don't know if I'm willing to give up an important piece or even a high draft pick, unless they can get rid of like a 4th round pick or a 5th round pick for a player on an expiring contract that could help give Detroit some depth, maybe another scorer, or maybe a little more blue line help. I just don't know if they're going to get a really, really good goalie. I mean, who is Calgary going to want for Markstrom? The goaltender. I mean, they're going to want a lot, because they're ready to blow up their franchise because they're just, they're flailing right now. So what does Detroit do at the deadline? That's a good question. Now, you talk about the Red Wings. We talked about them. They're at 72 points right now. They're in the first wild card position. I think they're 2 points behind Toronto for third. Toronto's got a game in hand. But think about it. Who can Detroit realistically catch in the Eastern Conference? Can they? Obviously, they have a shot at catching the Toronto Maple Leafs. Again, they're 2 points ahead with a game in hand. They're 10 points behind Boston right now and Florida. They've got one game in hand on Boston. I don't know. That's a lot of points to make up. There's 23 games left. I think if Detroit can win 14 of those games, they're in the playoffs. 28 points, that would give them 100. They'll be in, without a doubt. 100 points is going to get them in. Will it be enough for third place? I don't know. So realistically, I think Detroit will more than likely be a wild card team unless Toronto takes the gas pipe. You wonder. Toronto is so loaded with talent. Every year you think this is the year they're going to break through. They're going to get to the Stanley Cup Finals, whatever. I look at 10 points is so much to make up. Detroit's got to stay hot. They're the hottest team in the NHL, along with the Nashville Predators, both with 6-game winning streaks. But Detroit's playing so good. They got a big game tomorrow night at home against the Islanders. That's a big win. Detroit, if you look at Detroit's schedule, they've got 2 big road trips coming up in March. Their first one, if you look at it right now, they're home against the Islanders. Saturday's such a big game. This is going to be a measuring stick game for Detroit. Saturday home against Florida, 3:00. Man, that's going to be a great game. It's on ABC. Then they go on a road trip at Colorado on Wednesday the 6th. Then they're at Arizona. They're at Vegas, and then they fly over to Buffalo. So kind of not really a West Coast trip, but kind of a mountain zone trip. Those are 3 big games for Detroit on the road after finishing up with 2 important games at home with New York, with the Islanders, and with Florida. So they can get 3 out of 4 points in these 2 games coming up. And then on the road, realistically, I would love to see 5 out of 6 potential points. If they could get 3 there, I think that would be amazing. Then go to Buffalo, get a win there, possibly 4 road games. Okay, let's see if they can get 5 points out of that road trip, that would be huge because that would put them right about 80 points come the middle of March. Then they're at home against Arizona and 2 winnable games at home against Arizona and Buffalo. Then they're at Pittsburgh. But then towards the end of the month, they go to Nashville, they go to Washington, they're at Carolina, they're at Florida, and they're at Tampa Bay. A 5-game road swing there. That is going to be so big for the Red Wings. That's why I think capitalizing on their home games here in March before that long road trip. With home games, they got 2 home games against the Islanders coming up here within a month's time. A home game against Columbus, that's a game they got to have. They got to get at least 3 out of 4 with a home and home against Buffalo. Same with Arizona. If they can do that, if they can get in the 80s, say 84 to 86 points, before they go on that 5-game road trip towards the end of March, they're going to be sitting so good because they can get in the 90s when they go into April. Then they got home games against the Blue Shirts, Buffalo, Washington, and then a home and home to finish out against Montreal. So it would be sitting pretty good there. I think 100 points is very easily reachable for the Red Wings as they look to make their march towards the playoffs. So, yeah, it's an exciting time being a Red Wings fan, no doubt. It's been a long time coming. It's been 7 long years. We talked about the top teams in the NHL, the blue shirts, the Rangers playing really well, had their big winning streak snapped over the weekend against Columbus. We talked about Florida, we talked about Carolina, Boston. It's funny is Boston, for some reason, why do I think they're going to be Detroit's first round playoff opponent? Of the teams right now at the top that I do not want to face, I would probably be the blue shirts or Carolina, if Carolina can end up winning that division. I'm not that worried about Boston. I mean, Boston's good, don't get me wrong, but I'm not worried about them. As far as, before we go to break, as far as the team that I would be a little bit worried about catching Detroit would always be the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, Detroit's got, if I look at the standings real quick, Detroit has got a 10-point lead on Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's got 3 games in hand on Detroit. They've only played 56 games. Detroit's played 59. So they're always going to be in my rearview mirror. They're 8 points ahead of New Jersey right now. They're 9 points ahead of Washington. And Washington's got a game in hand on them. Those are the teams I'm worried about. And, of course, the Flyers are right there as well. They're at 69 points. But Detroit's ahead of all of those. They got a game in hand on Philadelphia. But those are the teams I'm worried about. And in the West, give it up to Vancouver and Dallas. I did not see them in first place this late in the year. Actually, Winnipeg's ahead of Dallas right now. They're tied. Hats off to Winnipeg. They've got, to me, the best goaltender in the league right now in Connor Hellebuck. I know I'm a little biased with him, but, he's playing lights out again, leading the league in a lot of categories. So, yeah, it's a great time to be a Red Wings fan. It's a great time, to be a hockey fan. It's great to be relevant going into March. March 1st, Detroit is in the thick of it. They are right there with that first playoff spot. It's going to be a lot of fun to keep an eye on them as well. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to put the pucks away. We're going to get the basketball out. Michigan State in a little bit of a rough patch. I mean, they're better than Michigan. We all know that. Michigan's a dumpster fire and an embarrassment. But Michigan State with a couple of gut-wrenching losses. Now all they got to do is go to West Lafayette on Saturday. We'll see if it's time to push the panic button on Michigan State. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza. It's live right here on 12ouncesports.com and the 12-Ounce Sports Network and on YouTube, along with the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back again to the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on 12-Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. Great to be with you on this February the 28th, 2024. And a reminder again, the Captain Lou Extravaganza, also brought to you by JaviCoffee.com. Use the promo code Captain Lou for 15% off of your purchase. Go to javicoffee.com. If you're a coffee drinker like I am, I know I drink a lot of it in the morning, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work, or 3:30, depending on the day. Nothing's better than a cup of coffee, instant coffee, hot coffee, regular decaf. My favorite, French vanilla. They've got salted caramel. They've got cinnamon, and now a mint flavored. Just don't take my advice. Or take my advice, don't take my word for it. Go to javicoffee.com yourself. And while you're there, use the promo code Captain Lou for 15% off of your purchase. It's that simple. That's javicoffee.com, one of our sponsors of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza live, as I mentioned, on all of our media platforms. That is Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook. Follow us on the Captain Lou Extravaganza Facebook page, or 12 Ounce Sports, or subscribe to our YouTube channels. We got all of our programming on there as well. All the replays of all the Captain Lou Extravaganzas and the ACHA Power Play and all the live sporting events on 12 Ounce Sports that we've got coming. Stay tuned. We got a lot of great stuff in the works. I'm telling you, it's great to be back on 12 Ounce Sports with Jeff and the gang. Philly Pete starting back up his nightly show, doing great things. Jeff back tomorrow night with his What's Happening, or whatever the goofy show he's got. That just happened. It's a great show. And, of course, we've got Mike Caravellis with his daily show, his daily lacrosse show every week at 1 o'clock Eastern time. So a lot going on here on 12 Ounce Sports, and it's going to get bigger and better than ever. All right, as we mentioned, let's talk a little bit of hardwood here. With it being the end of February, that means March Madness is less than 3 weeks away. And we all know Michigan State, when it comes to March Madness, when it comes to the NCAA tournament, they are a mainstay. To me, you can call them a blue blood. Now, you can see in the background, you can see right there, I'm a Michigan guy. Michigan, national champion can right there. Michigan football. Michigan basketball is a dumpster fire. It's a train wreck. It's an embarrassment. One thing that's always been a constant is Michigan State basketball. Ever since that I really started following it back in the mid-'70s, you had Judd and you had Tom, two coaches in the last 49 years. That's been the constant, and that's Michigan State basketball. And now it's Tom Izzo, 27 straight trips to the NCAA tournament. But now a little bit of panic is setting in East Lansing. And I don't know if it's justified or not. But let's look at the last couple of games. It's amazing that they started out with, a couple of weeks ago with that big win at home against Illinois. Thinking, all right, things are looking really good. They followed it up with, I call them patsy wins over Penn State and Michigan. Both on the road, though. Road games, we all know this year, winning on the road it's a crapshoot. But right now in the NCAA, anybody winning anywhere is a crapshoot. I mean, look at Kansas last night. Getting beat at home by BYU. I mean, what the hell's going on there? Cost me a couple of bucks, betting a couple of shackles on that one, trying to get back after betting on Michigan State last Sunday. But Michigan State had a 10-point lead at halftime last week against Ohio State. Coming off that loss against Iowa at home, I thought there is no way in God's green earth Michigan State's going to lose that game. And it's inexplicable. Now, I know the natives are getting restless. The alums are getting restless. Tom Izzo kind of, reacting to some of the criticism, saying that he hasn't lost one bit of sleep, not thought twice about how he's playing Booker. That one mystifies me a little bit. I look at this Michigan State team. They've got the talent. I know they play such a murderer's row of a schedule every year at the beginning of the year. It toughens them up. But there's just something missing, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if anybody does. And what is their cure right now? They have to go to West Lafayette on Saturday on national TV to take on the Boilermakers. It's going to be on Fox, so we get everybody's favorite announcer, Gus Johnson, who's a cartoon character in his own right. I know what we'll be doing at the Gamblin household. We'll be turning the sound down and listening to our favorite Saturday night music while the game's on. Or we might be turning on Michigan State hockey as they've got a huge weekend against Wisconsin to wrap up the Big Ten championship. But if you're a State fan, do you push the panic button just yet? I don't know. The only way they're not going to make the national tournament is if they just absolutely nosedive, don't win another game the rest of the year, and they lose right away in the Big Ten tournament. Right now, to me, you see all the latest prognostications and the bracketology and all that. They've got Michigan State a 9 seed. To me, I would rather see Michigan State maybe stumble one more time if I'm a Spartan fan, get a 10 seed. Because you can beat a 7 seed, then you're going to play a 2nd seed. I would rather not have to play a team like UConn in the 2nd round should you win the 8-9 game. But, you don't want to root for anybody. You don't strategize to lose. I mean, that's crazy. But I look at their schedule. They've got Purdue Saturday night at home, or at Purdue, 8:00 game on Fox. Then they're at home Wednesday for their senior night, their home finale against Northwestern. That's not a cakewalk. Northwestern is like the Achilles heel for Michigan State basketball. It seems like they always are. And Boo Buie coming to the Breslin one more time. But it's senior night. You would think they'd be up for that. So I look at that as a split. I think they're going to win at home against Northwestern. But like we said, who knows anymore with Big Ten basketball or in the country? I mean, UConn getting slapped by Creighton the other day. Purdue, they're up and down. I mean, but this Northwestern team's pretty good. I think they can win that one. But then Michigan State's last game is Sunday the 10th at Indiana before they start the Big Ten tournament. So that's going to be, Indiana's finale. We'll see what they got left. You talk about a team scuffling right now. That's Indiana. And it's weird seeing what I used to call a blue blood. Indiana's not a blue blood anymore. They're rich in history, but they haven't done much lately. But to see a team like Indiana down is a little wild. Obviously being a Michigan fan, seeing what Michigan's like, they're horrible. It's embarrassing. You don't know what team's going to show up. And even if you do, they're not that good. And Juwan Howard, as a Michigan fan, I am so worried that Juwan Howard's going to be back next year on the bench at Michigan. And to me, there's no excuse for that. My only, I've got one theory that, I talked about with my brothers-in-law and our little chat group that we're in with Mark and Mark too, and Dean, is maybe he's coaching until his kids can get into the NBA, if they're that good. I don't know. But we all know Michigan's not going on any tournament run, NIT or NCAA or CBI or ABC or XYZ. Michigan's not going there. They're absolutely horrible. But Michigan State, I don't think you pushed the panic button yet, but there's a lot of people questioning his coaching theory, why he's not playing the young kids. Why did Booker not play in the second half in the last 15 minutes? That's the big question everybody was asking with Michigan State. So again, I don't think their tourney runs in jeopardy. I really don't. But, here's my question. Not only with Michigan State, we talked about this. Is this one of the weirdest years of college basketball in recent memory? I mean, I look at the teams that I think are right up near the top. I look at UConn. I look at Purdue. I look at Arizona. Can they be trusted to make a long run? UConn, I think, probably can. I think by far they're the best team in the country. Purdue, they've got Edie. I get it, but they're up and down a little bit. I know they're ranked second. They only got 3 losses if that's up and down. But we all know their history. The last 3 years of losing to double-digit seeds in the opening round of the tournament. So how much is going to be weighing on them when they get into the big dance? Because, they're probably going to be a 1 seed again. At the very worst, they're going to be a 2 seed. And the only way that happens is if they lose on Saturday against Michigan State and drop an early game in the Big Ten tournament. But I don't see that happening. Arizona, I don't know. Then you've got Houston and or Kentucky or possibly Tennessee. More than likely, Tennessee might be able to supplant one of those teams as number 1 seeds. But yeah, to me, it's a wide open tournament. But that's what you want in March Madness, I guess. If you want some of the lower teams getting in and making a run, this would definitely be the year. So one more thing about college basketball that is starting to rear its head a little bit is the court storming. And you've heard all the talking heads all week saying, what can we do to stop it? Can it be stopped? Short of putting chicken wire around the arenas and not letting anybody come in, or make it like a hockey rink where you put boards up and put the safety, the netting around. What can you really do? What can you realistically do to stop a bunch of 18 to 21-year-old kids that, when it's glorified to do it, it's been glorified by the NCAA at tournament time every year. Your team wins the conference tournament, whether it's a small division, or a small conference, or a Big Ten, or whatever. They show them on Sports Center, they show them on CBS, show them on Fox. It's been glorified. It's kind of like it's kind of like the showmanship things, and with everybody grandstanding now, in all the other sports. It's been glorified. And all of a sudden they want these kids to stop. So what are you going to do? What's the answer? The one good idea I thought I heard was, you look at a schedule for next year, for example, and I'm just going to use Michigan, or Michigan State. Look at their schedule next year of the big games that they've got coming up, or let's say like the rivalry game, Michigan State, or Purdue, or whoever, some of the big ones, Duke or whatever. That's when you hire the extra police and the extra security. 63-year-old guys wearing blue jackets or green jackets that are Walmart greeters, that are retired Coke drivers like me, who will be an usher. They slap security on him just so he can have a front row seat. They're not going to stop these kids. There's no way. And so I don't know what the answer is there. But here's a question, though, that I heard this Monday on, I got to give credit to Fox Sports Radio. I think it was Brady Quinn was mentioning this, and he brought it up. A lot of these schools are serving alcohol at games now. They're doing it at Michigan. They're doing it at Michigan State, the Breslin Center, Munn, Michigan State Stadium, Spartan Stadium. They're doing it at Chrysler. They're doing it at Yost. They're doing it at the Big House. A lot of these big schools now are serving alcohol at the games. Now, at Wake Forest the other night, they serve a 7.3% alcohol ale or beer. What the hell do you expect? You get a couple of 21-year-old kids or whatever, double-fisted, buying two and, setting one, going buying another one, hammering them, or you can't tell me they're not bringing them and letting some, hiding it so their 19-year-old girlfriend or 20-year-old buddy or whatever can slam the beer too. So you're not telling me that that's going to help things when and I'm not trying to be the old man get off my lawn thing, but nobody mentions this. That's going to be an issue you're always going to have to contend with. You get that liquid courage in some of these kids in these places like the Cameron Crazy is or wherever. They're going to be intoxicated. They're going to be liquored up. They ain't going to care. The only other solution I can see is, and again, I'm going to use Michigan and Michigan State for examples, with the couch burning at Michigan State after wins or whatever, or at Michigan, and they see these people running out into the streets, burning the couches with, raising hell, whatever. They see those pictures from people video camming it or whatever, and then they get arrested after the fact. You can see these kids going down there and either getting their ticket privileges taken away or fined or whatever. But that's painstaking. And I don't know if you can really do that either. But nobody mentions the alcohol factor with these games now. And I'm surprised by that. Maybe I'm off base. But yeah, what do you expect from that? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I mean, and these kids drink before the games too. But I mean, now it's readily available. You show your ID, you're 21. There you go. Boom, bitty, boom, bitty, boom. By halftime, you're half in the bag, if not more. Just a thought. that could be a case for it, but what do I know, right? All right, we're going to take another break. We come back, we're going to get the pigskin out. We're going to talk a little NFL, the Chicago Bears on the clock. I got a feeling we're going to be talking a lot about that here. The draft is coming up on April. We're going to have great coverage with 12 Ounce Sports in the draft. I got a feeling, we're going to talk a ton about it in April. You've got the combine coming up this weekend. We're going to talk a little bit about maybe some quarterback change. Who needs a change of scenery the most? We're going to talk about that as well. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza on all of our media platforms, 12 Ounce Sports, the Captain Lou Sports Network, Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, Twitch, you name it. We're on it. And we'll be right back here on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Extravaganza.
Yeah.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money. And we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Captain Lou Extravaganza here on 12 Ounce Sports, February the 28th. Hey, a reminder, again, that next week, Wednesday, we're going to be live down in St. Louis with our show. We're going to have kind of a combined show at the ACHA Power Play and the Extravaganza from the Centene Ice Center down in St. Louis. It is the site of the 2024 ACHA National Championships, 11 days of hockey, college hockey, non-NCAA hockey, 82 teams in 5 divisions, 3 on the women's side, 3 on the men's side, 2 on the women's side. And it's always a great event. We're going to be there live, 7 o'clock Eastern time next Wednesday, previewing the tournament, and also whatever else is going on in the world of sports, we're going to be there. So make sure you check us out. That's next Wednesday at 7 o'clock. A programming note for next Tuesday, we will not have the ACHA Power Play on Tuesday. We'll be in transit. But again, Wednesday is going to be a combined show. It's going to be a lot of fun. Excited to be there again. This will be my 7th year covering the national tournament for the ACHA. And, it's a great experience. If you like college hockey, if you like hockey in general, you're going to be in the St. Louis area. I strongly urge you to go to the Centene Ice Center and check out some great college hockey, non-NCAA hockey. It's very competitive. And for a lot of these kids, this is their last shot, the seniors, at, competitive hockey at such a high level. And so again, that will be on live from location next Wednesday night, 7 o'clock from the Centene Ice Center down in St. Louis Mo for the Captain Lou Extravaganza / ACHA Power Play. All right, let's talk a little football here while we got a few minutes left of the show tonight. It's on everybody's mind if you're a football fan. The NFL, the draft is a couple of months away. You've got the silly season with the free agency coming up. You're starting to get some franchise tags. T. Higgins is franchised by the Cincinnati Bengals. Don't know what the Lions are going to do for a franchise tag yet. I know they signed Reeves Maben, their Special teams got great pickup. I'm glad to keep him in the fold in Detroit. Signed him to a 2-year deal worth around $8 million. I think that's a great idea. He's an electric returner. Just keep that up, keeping that in the fold for the Lions. So they're looking at now they've got some other big signings to talk about. Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, of course, Jared Goff. Should they sign him to an extension? I've seen rumors of 4 years and $180 million out there. That's kind of what they're saying maybe the going rate will be for him. We'll have to keep an eye on that to make sure. But, we've got all of that talk coming up in the silly season. But the Chicago Bears are on the clock. They've got the number 1 pick. And the first question is, should they trade out of it? Well, it all comes down to what they can get, obviously. That's, Captain Obvious here. But should they trade out of it? I think they should. I think they should trade down to 2 or 3. Now, Poles, the GM, is kind of in a tough situation, if you ask me, because if he passes up on Caleb Williams and he does do good, let's say he doesn't pick him at 1, or he trades out of 1, goes to 3, for example, to New England or whoever, and they get their pick and a couple other picks. They maybe draft Jaden Daniels or Drake May. Then, Williams does good, then he's going to be, he's going to be an epic failure. And then if he stays at 1 and picks Williams and he doesn't do good, then it's like, well, you had to pick him. You had no choice. He's the chosen one. I know it's such a tough call. I mean, they're going to get a haul for that pick if they do trade it. But my next question is Chicago, are they going to trade Fields? I think it's pretty much a foregone conclusion they're going to trade him. I think my gut feeling is he's going to go to Atlanta. And I'll tell you, if he does, I think the Falcons are going to win that division. I think they're a quarterback away from winning that division. They've got some talent. They've got some playmakers on offense. So their defense is a little shaky. But in that division, I think if they get Justin Fields and he stays healthy, he's got the playmakers, like I said, they can overtake Tampa Bay. Because who knows if Mike Evans is going to be back. They're going to probably re-up Baker. Their defense is underrated, but they lose Evans, they're in trouble. Their running game is okay, but it's not great. And, Carolina, who knows? They've got a new coach, Bryce Young in his second year. I don't think they're there yet. New Orleans, I think that place is a train wreck right now. Derek Carr was a massive disappointment in his first year in New Orleans. And, he's under contract there. So I don't know. I think Fields will go there. The other place you could possibly see him be would be Pittsburgh. But I think he would love nothing better than to go to Atlanta. And, we've heard Ryan Poles, the GM of Chicago, say, we're gonna do good by him. We're gonna do good by Justin Fields. So if they stay true to that, then I could see them trading him to Atlanta. And again, I think that would be a great match for those two teams. We talked about it before the break. The glamour spot in the NFL is the quarterback. What quarterbacks could really benefit from a change of venue? Now, I look at this list that I've got on the screen. Obviously, Zach Wilson today, he was given permission to seek a trade. Who's going to take a flyer on Zach Wilson? I think he will be traded. He's not going to be a starter right away. He might be given a chance to compete for it. But, will they play elsewhere in 2024? Who would benefit the most? I think that Russell Wilson's going to be gone. There's no secret there. I mean, his mansion's up for sale. He didn't finish the rest of the year. I could see him in Pittsburgh. I really could. I don't think Kenny Pickett's the answer there. I don't think Russell Wilson would go to Chicago. I don't think he'd go to New England. I think New England's going to draft a quarterback myself. They're starting brand new regime, new everything there. I could see Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh. Kirk Cousins, an interesting thought. he's had all this guaranteed money with Minnesota over the years. Could he end up in Atlanta? If Justin Fields doesn't go there, that would be a decent fit. I mean, could he end up in Vegas? I don't know. I mean, think about that for a minute. Interesting kind of thoughts on where those guys may end up. What other quarterbacks are out there that might, benefit from a change of scenery or go somewhere else. Like I don't see Baker Mayfield going anywhere else. I think he's going to re-up there. I think he's got a good thing going there. And, they seem to like each other there, but I don't know. That's kind of, you wonder about fits like that, and I don't think teams like Washington or New England would take these guys. I think they're going to draft a quarterback. They're starting over. They're going to just groom their own person to be their quarterback. So, and of these guys right here, I think Kirk Cousins could still start for somebody and make them successful. Russell Wilson, I think he's got a year or two left in the tank. He's not the Russell Wilson of old. Who knows? Maybe Kirk Cousins could end up in Seattle. I know I know what they've got. I get it, but just putting it out there. Zach Wilson. What about Mac Jones? Did Mac Jones really get a true chance to show what his talent was in New England? Or was he really technically a system quarterback in Alabama and ride everybody else to get that national championship? These are some of the questions for these quarterbacks in 2024. Should they, go somewhere else? And I think there's a good possibility that all four of these quarterbacks are going to be gone. Here's another one. And I saw this yesterday and I thought it was kind of fascinating, was Kyler Murray. There was an Instagram post, I believe it was, or Twitter or X, whatever, that posted that he's their franchise quarterback. And it was pointed out that, are they doing that for posturing to make him look good for trade bait? No, he's got a big contract. But Arizona, to me, is kind of like they're stuck in nowheresville. I just think they're kind of in transition. And I'm not sure that Kyler Murray's their guy. But I thought that quite fascinating. Could he be playing somewhere else in 2024? Could there be a trade generated? I don't know what kind of cap hit he would have, but that's one to keep an eye on because you're in that division with the Rams, who I think are going to be decent, with obviously San Francisco, who's loaded, and Seattle. So, I mean, the top two teams, LA and San Francisco, to me, are going to be fighting for playoffs and wild cards, whatever, next year. So it's kind of a keep an eye on that type of a thing. Now, one other thing in football I want to bring up, Dan Campbell's down at the combine or over at the combine. And he's been asked many times about that game against San Francisco. What would have you done different? Would you have still gone for it on both those fourth down plays? And he said yes. And I applaud him for sticking with that. The one regret he said he may have had was running it on third down, getting greedy there at the goal line and not trying to throw it because they had to burn a timeout. I still don't understand that one. But that one's totally not on him. I think Ben Johnson, he was the play caller. That was the one thing I didn't understand about that game. And that ultimately could have cost him. I know we keep going back and forth to the third down in the third quarter when they're up 2 touchdowns, or they could have been up, could have went up 3 scores again. I get it. And in the fourth quarter, when they could have kicked the field goal to tie it, they ended up going down 2 scores. But I think that one at the goal line is the biggest one that he admitted it. He regretted that. But he didn't 100% regret it, I don't think. And it's so easy to second guess. It really is. So easy to second guess when you're 2 months out or a month away or whatever it is now. But again, I said it the day after. You saw me on social media that night. I will not second guess what he did, because that's something he's done all year. And he was very successful at it. The Lions were very successful at it. Am I satisfied with the loss? No. Yes, I wanted him to go to the Super Bowl badly. But he has brought Detroit, him and that staff have brought Detroit to new heights. Now they're one of the hunted. And I can't wait to see how they react to that this year with that first place schedule. So it's interesting to hear Dan Campbell say that. But again, what I'm enjoying right now, the sting is still there. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to the Super Bowl. But what I'm enjoying right now is something that even in 92, after they went to the championship game in 91, we didn't really have that buzz. There's a buzz right now that Detroit is right there. They're one of the teams to talk about going back to the Super Bowl, or going to the Super Bowl, I should say, not back, getting there. And that's not something that I'm familiar with. And I'm excited about that. I really, really am happy about that. Well, you're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza here on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network. Going to wrap it up here a little bit. We really appreciate you all taking time out tonight to check us out, as always, on Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock. Want to close out with kind of a sad farewell to a couple of old wrestling people. I know we used to talk about pro wrestling a lot on the show over the years, and we do from time to time. WrestleMania is coming up in a month, WrestleMania 40. A couple of old icons passed away this week. Ole Anderson and Virgil. Couldn't be two more polar opposites. Virgil, of course, the sidekick to the $1 Million Man back in the 80s, when he was, I can't even remember what his name was, Vinny, I think, for the NWO, Vincent. He was, the bodyguard again there. What a character. Super nice guy. In real life, he was a hell of a nice guy. He had a lot of health problems in the last few years, down on his luck financially, I believe, too. And that really didn't help matters. But in his day, he was very talented. He never really won a lot of matches, but he was very colorful, very charismatic, even as the bodyguard. It was a treat to watch him. And then Ole Anderson, for those of you that watched wrestling back in the 70s like I did, part of the Minnesota Wrecking Crew in the 70s and 80s with Gene Anderson, and then later on with Arn Anderson, and of course in the Four Horsemen, the original Four Horsemen with Ric Flair and those two, and then with Tully Blanchard. Ole Anderson was he was a great wrestling mind. Not the most pleasant guy in the world in real life and whatnot. Very bitter as he got older about the way pro wrestling has gone, and didn't think he got his own kudos. But you can't deny what a great talent he was and a great eye for the sport, and definitely a wrestling icon that will be missed. So rest in peace to Virgil and to Ole, and our thoughts and prayers go out to their families. All right, that's going to do it. It's a quick hour. It's flown by. Again, we want to thank you for joining us. Want to thank our sponsors, Javi Coffee. Go to javicoffee.com. Use the promo code Captain Lou, 15% off your favorite instant coffee. That's javicoffee.com. Tickets.12ouncesports.com. Of course, you want to go to your favorite sporting event. We are ticket broker. Our fees are the lowest around. Go to tickets.12ouncesports.com. And of course, mybookie.ag, where you can get a bonus on your deposit up to $1,000. All right, that's going to do it. Again, one more reminder, next Wednesday night, we will be live in St. Louis for the 12-ounce sports for the Captain Lou Extravaganza / ACHA Power Play, a combined show. Really excited to be there live. We're going to have coaches, guests, you name it. I think you'll enjoy it. So make sure you stick around for that. All right, everybody. Captain Lou saying, keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open. Thanks for joining us tonight here on 12 Ounce Sports for another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza. And we're live here on the 12 Ounce Sports, as always, and the Captain Lou Sports Network. So long.